do today here at Community Bible Baptist Church, and then also across this country and the world as churches meet. We pray that people would meet the Savior, and that they would go to a church service with family, and that they would leave with a new family, a family that has an eternal home in heaven. Well, let's do this morning. I'm going to take the microphone over to Miss Marty. She's going to get us started, but we're looking for praises, prayer requests, anything like that. But Miss Marty asked if she could use the microphone this morning, and she has a praise, so we're going to get that over to her. But you be thinking of a praise, a prayer request. If you got family traveling in, we want to pray for them this morning, but Miss Marty has something that she'd like to share right off the bat.
On December the 3rd, I had breast cancer surgery, and the surgeon said that I would need radiation. So he sent me to a radiation doctor, and he said, well, you might need 3 weeks of radiation, but not 6. And so then the surgeon sent me to a cancer specialist, and the specialist says your cancer was so small and didn't go anywhere, so he said you don't need radiation at all. So I praise the Lord for that.
She's keeping secrets. We didn't even know anything was going on. Praise the Lord. Anybody else this morning? You have a praise, a prayer request, something that you'd like to share this morning? Anybody at all? Brother Austin. Continue to pray for John. Keep praying. Now, did you have a birthday this week? Now, was that your 60th birthday? Is that what I saw on the cake? So I was on Facebook, and I see this picture of this cake, and it's literally just a black cake, with the tombstone on it and all this stuff. 60 years old. My goodness. Anybody else have a birthday this month? December birthdays. Okay, very good, very good. Anniversary, how many years? 46, how many years? 14. 14 plus 25. Hey, that's a story right there. You ever want to hear a story? God does cool things, 14 plus 25. Been married twice, if that's correct. God does that kind of stuff. Anybody else? Praise, prayer requests? Yes, ma'am. Definitely pray for your family. Grandmother just passed away. Anybody else this morning? Praise, a prayer request. How many of you are traveling for Christmas? You're going somewhere. The Grangers. They're the only brave ones. The rest of us are staying home. Let people come to us. Oh, Fort Myers. Okay. That counts. That counts. Well, be praying for one another and enjoy this Christmas season. I'm not going to detour from our messages in Joseph this morning. It's tempting, to talk about the birth and talk about this time of year. But preacher's going to be preaching this morning a message called Imagine His Birth. Imagine His Birth. And then Wednesday night, we're going to do something a little bit different for our candlelight service. And I hope you'll be a part of it. I think it'll be an encouragement to you as we just examine that night and how miraculous that night was. It started off miraculous. You think about this, you think about finding out that you're having a baby. That's always an exciting time. But being told by an angel, can you imagine that? And then also not being with a man and finding out that you're going to have a baby. Just a miraculous story. Love this time of year. Thankful for the Lord and thankful that He came. Let's do this morning. Let's have Brother Jim, if you'd stand in the back and lift your voice and pray and remember these requests. Amen. At this time, our guys are going to come. They're going to pass out the offering plate. If you give, this will go to our building fund. We're actually going to start to do some painting. It's been 5 years since we did this remodel. That's hard to believe. And if you start to look at walls, there's get dings and scratches, and it's amazing how just 400 people going through here on Sundays. And it's tight. It's tight. There's no room to walk, so apparently they're walking on the walls because there's black marks and all kinds of stuff everywhere. But constant upkeep, so anything you give will go to our building and our maintenance fund. Miss Rebecca is out of town today, and she normally takes our attendance, so we're scrambling trying to figure out who's here and who's not. But we're glad that you're here this morning. Turn in your Bibles, if you will, to Isaiah chapter number 30. We're going to start in Isaiah, and then we'll jump back into Genesis. But I'm going to read a verse to you this morning from Isaiah chapter number 30. Studying the life of Joseph, and I love this character of the Bible. I love this story. I love to examine it. I love the fact that it reminds us of Christ often. But Isaiah chapter number 30, and verse number 18 says this, "And therefore will the Lord wait, that he may be gracious unto you. Blessed are they that wait for him." Blessed are they that wait for him. Probably one of the hardest things that we'll do in our lifetime is to wait. And none of us like to wait for anything. Everything's instant. We like instant popcorn. We like already cooked bacon. We like all of the stuff that's already done. We don't want to wait for anything. But we've got to learn to wait on the Lord. We've got to learn to trust the Lord, that he's got a plan for our lives, and he's got a perfect plan that is way better than anything that we could dream up. And we've got to get to the place where we say, I'm going to rest and trust the Lord when it comes to my family. I'm going to rest and trust the Lord when it comes to my career. I'm going to rest and trust the Lord when it comes to every area of my life. I'm going to trust the Lord, and I'm going to wait on him. Man, that's a hard thing to do. And we see that in the life of Joseph. He had a difficult time. He had a long period of time. We'll talk about that a little bit today. How long has it been since his brothers sold him? How long has it been since he got that coat from Dad? It's been a long time. And today, if we could title it, we would just call this When Dreams Come True. When Dreams Come True. A little bit of rehearsal, what's been going on. Why has God waited so long for this to take place? For things to start to happen in Joseph's life. Joseph could have never suspected, as he pillowed his head one night in the jail, that somewhere in the palace, Pharaoh was also falling asleep. But Pharaoh wouldn't sleep long because he was about to have a dream. Let's review what's happened so far in Joseph's life. Joseph had a dream that God was going to use him as a leader someday. Joseph's brothers hated him, threw him in a pit, and sold him as a slave. As a slave, he was accused of trying to seduce Potiphar's wife, and he ends up in prison. And that's where we've left him for the last couple of weeks. But we didn't leave him near as long as the butler left him. The butler left him for 2 years. And he's there in that prison. And each and every day he gets up and he does what he knows he's supposed to do. You know, we don't get the grand scheme. Sometimes we don't get the end of what we're supposed to do. But a lot of times what we've got to do is just get up and do exactly what we know we're supposed to do. And that's what Joseph did. No matter where he was at, he got up and he did what he was supposed to do. Wherever he was, whether he was a slave, whether he was watching or going to do something for his dad, no matter what he did, he said, I'm going to get up today and do what I know I'm supposed to do. It's out of suffering sometimes that God advances us. That's when he advances us to do more. Number one this morning, I'm going to look at the providential ways of God. Let's turn back to Genesis chapter number 40. Genesis chapter number 40, we'll read verse number 23. And then we'll jump into chapter 41 and verse 1. The providential ways of God. God's hand is involved in our life, and God wants to be the one that's orchestrating our day-to-day walk with him. Genesis chapter number 40, verses 23 says this, "Yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him." 41 verse 1 says this, "And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed." So it's been 2 years now since those dreams were interpreted and since the butler was reinstated. And 2 years, and he was forgotten. I think it's interesting that verse says that Joseph, the butler remembered Joseph not, but forgot him. When Joseph interpreted those dreams, he'd probably already been in prison at least 5 years, but I believe it was more like 10 years. 10 years getting up every day and doing what he knew he was supposed to do. Say 10 years was a long time. It seems like a long time when you're in it. Boy, you think about the fact that each and every day you get up and do what you know you're supposed to do. 10 years seems like a long time. Well, 10 years in prison is a long time. And he got up each and every day and did what he knew he was supposed to do. What would have happened if he had been released 2 years earlier? Let's say that the butler, he got out and he went straight to Pharaoh and he said, "Pharaoh, I've got to tell you, there's a man in this prison that loves the Lord. There's a man in this prison that God speaks to him. There's a man in this prison who interpreted my dream. And it came out just the way that he said it would." If he would have done that 2 years earlier, what do you think would have happened to Joseph? He probably would have just been freed and reinstated as a slave in Potiphar's house. But that's not what happens, is it? 2 years, the butler forgets him. God prepared the butler for just the right time, and now he was preparing the king. Let's look at Genesis chapter number 41, verses 1 through 8. "And it came to pass at the end of 2 years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine, and fatted flesh, and they fed in the meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine, and upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-flavored fat kine. So Pharaoh woke, and he slept, and he dreamed a second time. And behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full of ears. And Pharaoh woke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and he called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. God's plan is beginning to take shape. Remember that God's timing is always perfect. Pharaoh has a dream, and he doesn't get it. And truthfully, when you read that dream, that's just a crazy dream. I mean, that's the fat cows, skinny cows. Fat cows are eating the skinny cows eat the fat cows. I mean, it gets crazy in that dream. And you think about that, and all of us have had crazy dreams where we wake up and we say, what in the world was that? We took people from different time periods of our life and different places that puts them all together, and our mind does crazy things. And Pharaoh wakes up, and he understands that there was something to this dream. And he wants an interpretation. So he calls the wise men, he calls the magicians, and they can't tell him anything. They have no idea. But someone was standing in the room. As those magicians and those wise men began to scratch their heads and began to get worried for their lives because Pharaoh could kill them if they didn't interpret the dream, there was one other person that was in the room that day, and it was the butler. And the butler's overhearing all this, and he's seeing what's going on. He says, "Hey, Pharaoh, can I talk to you for a second?" Standing near Pharaoh's throne was a high official of the court, Joseph's old friend, the butler. Let's begin reading in verse number 9 again. "Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day." Oh, what have I done? I think it was God that just caused him not to remember. for this day. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me in the ward and the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker. And we dreamed a dream in one night. And I and he, we dreamed each man according to the interpretation of his dream. And there was there with us a young man, an Hebrew, servant to the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us, to each man according to his dream he did interpret. Now, as I envision this is all happening at night. Pharaoh wakes up, and when Pharaoh wants something, he gets what he wants. So he calls the magicians, he calls all these wise men, and it's the middle of the night, and they're coming in, and they're yawning. They're like, what in the world's going on? No interpretation's given. The butler says, wait a second. There's a guy who interpreted my dream. Back when you threw me, back when you were angry at us and you threw us into prison, and he gave us the exact interpretation. So it's the middle of the night. And the fullness of Joseph's dreams are about to come into reality. The butler forgot Joseph. His brothers forsook him. His dad lost him. But God never left Joseph. God always had a plan. And in his perfect timing, he brings us all into fruition. Number 2, we see the perfect wisdom of God. The perfect wisdom of God. Genesis 41, verses 14 and 16. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. I can imagine Joseph that night getting the prison all set. Remember, he was in charge of the prison. The person who was supposed to be doing that was sitting in the back watching reruns of Andy Griffith or doing something. And Joseph finishes up his nightly duties, and he finishes up doing everything that he's supposed to. And he pillows his head and says, Lord, I don't know what you have for me, but I still believe you have a plan for me. And whether that plan is me staying in here another 10 years or whatever that plan is for me, I'm going to get up each and every day and do exactly what I know to do. And as he pillowed his head that night and as his eyes began to close, he had no idea that he wasn't going to get as much sleep as he usually did. And Joseph drifts off to sleep, but he's suddenly awakened as the Pharaoh's entourage comes in and gets Joseph up. They wake him up and they shave him and they change him and they say, you're going to go talk to Pharaoh. Well, that'd be kind of crazy. That'd be kind of like you falling asleep tonight and then the president, his men, the CIA come in, they wake you up and they get you ready and say, the president wants to see you. Well, I don't want to see the president at all. But that would be a scary situation, wouldn't it? Okay, I'm going to go before the president tonight. I just woke up, but I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm going to go before the president. The perfect wisdom of God. We see the providential hand of God, see the perfect wisdom of God. I love the fact that Joseph says, it's not in me. Oh, it's not in me. God will give you the interpretation of the dream. Let's continue reading Genesis 41, verses 15 and 16. He's standing before Pharaoh now. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. And Joseph answered Pharaoh and said, It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. Joseph claims right away that he has no ability whatsoever to do, but he says it's God who's going to do it. Now, as there's other people in the room right now, Pharaoh would have been looked at as a god. Pharaoh was a god to those Egyptian people. And when Joseph says, it's not in me, God, the God, shall give me the interpretation. He was saying that you're not going to know this dream. I'm not going to know this dream. Only God can give the interpretation of a dream. I find it quite interesting that the perfect wisdom of God used the very natural events of mankind to bring about supernatural workings of God. God used a man's dream. He used a woman's lie. He used a brother's envy. He used a butler's forgetfulness to do everything that he needed to do. He said, man, somebody has falsely accused me of something. Hey, maybe God's trying to do something in your life. Maybe God's trying to show you something. Man, there's some people that just have it out for me and they hate me, and I don't know why they hate me. Maybe God's trying to use that in your life. You think about the things that God used to bring this about in Joseph's life. He used very difficult things. This has not been a 10 to 13 years of ease. This has been a difficult time away from his father, away from his family, away from his land, away from his language, away from everything that he knew. It's been a difficult time, but God used each and every circumstance that we've heard so far to bring about what's about to take place. John Phillips said this: God usually brings his purposes to pass by such normal and natural means that the eye of faith can see, that only the eye of faith can see that he has been at work at all. He uses normal and natural means to accomplish his purpose. Hebrews 11:6 says, but without faith it is impossible to please him. 1 Corinthians 3:19, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. Boy, those men, those magicians, and those wise men that came in, that's foolishness. Because nothing can be done without the power of God. Nothing can be done without the wisdom of God, without the knowledge of God, without a relationship with God. We can do absolutely nothing. But what was the difference between Joseph and those wise men and magicians? Those wise men and magicians were trying to do it in and of their own strength, in and of their own position that they had attained somehow. And Joseph gets pulled out of a dungeon, the Bible says. And he's able to interpret the dream because of his relationship with God. What are you trying to do? What am I trying to do in and of our own strength? What are we trying to do of our own source of power? The Bible says that without him we can do nothing. But with him we can do all things through Christ which strengthen us. See the perfect wisdom of God. But number 3 this morning, we see the plain will of God. The plain will of God. Look at chapter 41, verses 25 through 28. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. He had 2 dreams, but he said it's the same dream, same interpretation. God has showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are the 7 years. And the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be the 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. He begins to explain these dreams, and he says that there's going to be 7 good years, and there's going to be 7 years of famine. Just a few short hours ago, Joseph had been carrying out the duties in a prison. He had been sleeping on a prison floor when he heard the rattle of those prison doors. And now Joseph is standing before Pharaoh. He's able to reveal to him his dream. Chapter 41, verses 37 through 44. And the thing was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this, a man who the Spirit of God is. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as God hath showed thee all this, there is none so discreet and as wise as thou art. Thou shalt be over my house, and according unto thy word shall all my people be ruled. Only in the throne will I be greater than thou. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand, and arrayed him with vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried before him, Bow the knee. And he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I am Pharaoh, and without thee shall no man lift up his hand or a foot in all the land of Egypt. What a night. And you think about the years that have passed, and then in just a few moments' time, it all happened. Just a few moments' time, he went from being a prisoner to being in the palace. In just a few moments' time, he went to being a slave to being a ruler. He's second in all the land of Egypt. What is it in your life that you're tired of waiting on? What is it in your life that you just say, you know what? It's been a decade. Maybe it's been 20 years, 30 years. Say, I've been waiting on the Lord. I've been asking him to do some specific things. I've gone through some very difficult times. I've had some struggles in my life, some things that I really wish that I didn't have to go through. What is it that you're tired of waiting on? Could you imagine if Joseph at some point just decided he was going to run away? Think about this. Potiphar's house, he was in charge. He was a slave. He was still under Potiphar, but Potiphar put him in charge of everything that he had. Potiphar didn't even know what he had anymore because he trusted Joseph so much. At any time, Joseph could have asked one of the servants to get them the fastest horse. I need you to get the fastest horse, and I need you to put it by the back entrance. And I want you to tell nobody that you've done it. He could have done it at a time where he knew that Potiphar was going to be gone for a while. He knew that he had a few hours to get away. Man, I'm homesick. I didn't deserve what my brothers did to me, and I'm going to go and tell Dad exactly what happened to me and how they wronged me. And he got on that horse, and he was gone. Joseph could have ran away. You understand that he had the keys to the prison. That he was put in charge of the prison, and at any time he could have said, you know what, I don't deserve this. I didn't do what Potiphar's wife said I did. I didn't do what my brothers, I don't know why they're so angry, why they sold me. I don't understand everything that's going on, and I'm done. I don't deserve any of this. And I'm going to use the position that I've attained, and I'm going to get out of here. I quit. I'm running away. I'm done. Boy, the story might have changed a little bit. There would have been no interpretation for the dream of Pharaoh. There would have been no man put in charge. There would have been no storing up during the 7 good years. There would have been no being able to ration food and help people during the 7 bad years. And ultimately, Joseph and his family and the world would have died because of famine. I'm just done. I don't know why God's put me through this. I don't know why I have to go through this. I don't know why these things, this misjustice has been done to me. I don't know why that I've been lied about. I don't know why that people hate me and they have no reason to hate me. I'm done. I'm tired of it. Why does it always happen to me? No. Joseph got up every day. Said, Lord, what will you have me to do today? Whether I'm at Potiphar's house, whether I'm at the prison, whether I'm doing errands for Dad, no matter where I'm at, no matter what language is being spoke, no matter who's watching, I'm going to do what's right. When she tries to tempt me, I'm not just going to get out of there. I'm going to wiggle out of my coat and go. I'm going to be gone. Because there's a God in heaven whose eyes are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. There's a God in heaven who desires a relationship with us. And Joseph understood that his relationship with God was the most important thing. And he understood that God had a specific providential plan, and that God's wisdom and God's ways are way above our ways. And he said, whatever you have for me, I'm going to get up today. I'm going to do what I know I'm supposed to do. Whether I'm a prisoner, whether I'm a slave, whether I'm a son, and then we find out now, or whether I'm a prince. Man, the story of Joseph doesn't end when he becomes the second in command. Man, you start to read the story, and we'll get into it a little more, but I get excited when I start to think about it. You know what he does as a prince? As the second most powerful man in the world, he gets up every day and he does what he knows he's supposed to do. His position in life had nothing to do with what he knew he was supposed to do. Whether he was a prisoner or a prince, he got up every day and said, I'm going to have time with the Lord today. I'm going to pray to the Lord. I'm going to make sure that my relationship is right with the Lord. And everywhere he went, the Bible says, and the Lord was with him. You can have that said about you in your life. You don't have to go through your life alone. You don't have to go through your life wondering. That you can have it said of you, the Lord is with you. How do I make sure that the Lord is with me? Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. How do I draw nigh to God? Just tell him you want a relationship. Read his word. Apply his word to your life. Love God and love others. Love your neighbor as yourself. Boy, we go right into Matthew 5, what we've already gone through. How do I have that relationship with God? How do I do what I know I'm supposed to do? Sermon on the Mount gives you pretty much everything you need to know. Ye are the light of the world. Ye are the salt of the earth. Love your neighbor as yourself. Ye have heard it said, not to love your enemies, but I say to you, love your enemies. Can you imagine that first day as the second most powerful man in the world? And Pharaoh says, get up in my chariot. Where do you want to go? We're going to go wherever you want to go. And Joseph says, let's go to the prison. There's a lot of people there I've made a relationship with. There's a man there who put me in charge of the prison, and he trusted me. And I want to go thank him. Let's go to Potiphar's house. I want to talk to the rest of the servants. I want to talk to Potiphar. I want them to know that I had nothing to do with what she said. God has now brought Joseph to the point where adversity would not stumble him, and advancement would not spoil him. He gets up every day and does what he knows he's supposed to do. Hey, this past week, how did you do at just getting up and doing what you know you're supposed to do? See, I don't understand the struggles. I don't understand the trials. I don't understand the things that God's put me through, the difficult times that I'm going through. I don't understand it all. Can I remind you that God is providential, and that God has a plan, and that his ways are perfect. And if you'll just wait on him, if you'll just trust him, his plan will be revealed to you. Don't quit. Don't get tired of it. Don't get discouraged. No, get up every day and say, I'm going to do what I know I'm supposed to do. And if a God allows me to see more of the plan, great. And if he doesn't, that's fine too. For over 10 years, he didn't get another glimpse of the plan. But he never forgot those dreams. He never forgot there is a plan. He never forgot the mom or a dad who sat down and taught him that God created you for a specific plan and a specific reason, and he wants to use you in ways that we can't even fathom or imagine. And if you'll just rest and trust in him, he will show you in his time. Lord, we thank you for your goodness to us. We thank you for each one that's here. Father, help us to get this. Help us to rest in you. Blessed are they that wait for you. Father, help me in my life to just wait. Help each one that's here, Lord, to just trust you. That you have a plan, and we wait on you. We serve you, trusting that in your time you'll review what you're going through, what we're going through, and why we're going through it, Lord. We praise you for your word. We thank you for Joseph and the life of this man. He wasn't perfect, but Father, there's so much we can learn from his story. We praise you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. We're out just about 5 minutes early. You are dismissed. God bless you and Merry Christmas. Next time we see you, Christmas will be over, so Merry Christmas to you.